Welcome, deep divers. Get ready because today we're plunging into a story that's really set the football world alight, especially for fans of a certain North London club.
That buzz has been building for a while, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely. You know that feeling, that sort of low hum of anticipation, the constant checking of transfer sites, the mental gymnastics trying to figure out tactics.
Sketching out formations on napkins?
Exactly. Well, for Arsenal supporters, and honestly, for anyone who just appreciates the strategic chess match of top-level football, that wait, it's finally over. It's culminated in a really significant announcement.
Well, wow.
Yeah. We're here today to properly unpack the official signing of Martin Zubimendi. He's the highly sought-after Spanish midfielder, now officially a Gunner.
This isn't just like another squad player arriving.
No way. This feels like a genuinely game-changing move, and that reported 51 million fee. It immediately tells you the kind of impact he's expected to have on that Arsenal midfield. So the big questions, the ones we're really digging into today, are what exactly makes Zubimendi worth that kind of, well, substantial investment? Why was Mikel Arteta apparently so adamant about bringing him to the Emirates?
He's been linked for a while, hasn't he?
He has. And crucially, how is his arrival going to reshape Arsenal's hunt for, Premier League and Champions League glory this season?
It's a great point, actually, because you've kind of hit on this fascinating paradox, the thing that really captures the imagination of, well, tactical nerds like us, maybe.
Guilty as charged.
How does a player who isn't, a global superstar, he's not going to be fronting massive marketing campaigns immediately, how does he command that kind of fee? And maybe even more interesting, generate such intense excitement among people who really get the game's deeper side.
Right. It's not the flashy stuff.
Exactly. It really speaks volumes about the quiet, maybe understated value of a very specific but incredibly potent skill set in the modern game. This isn't about selling shirts, is it? It's about pure, undiluted football intelligence.
Yeah.
The real deal.
Yeah, you've nailed it. It's not the flash, it's the function. The sort of underlying strength and brainpower he brings right to the core of the team.
The engine room control.
Precisely. So, okay, let's unpack this properly. Let's start with, who is Martin Zubimendi really?
Good place to start.
Let's kick things off then. Properly introducing Martin Zubimendi. Like we hinted, he might not be a name you see plastered everywhere, like, say, a Jude Bellingham or even Declan Rice last year. Those transfers that just become global sagas overnight.
Yeah, dominating the headlines for weeks.
And this is really the key thing within football circles. Among the scouts, the coaches, the analysts who really watch closely, he's been consistently widely seen as one of the most complete defensive midfielders in Europe.
That's not just hype either.
No, it's not just a label. It reflects this really consistent elite level of performance that's genuinely set him apart for years now. He's been maybe a bit of a well-kept secret, but one that, every serious football mind was aware of.
And when you look into his background, you start to see why he has this kind of unique profile. He was born and raised right there in San Sebastian.
Crescent country.
Exactly. So he's a lifelong product of the Real Sociedad Academy. And Real Sociedad, it's not just any club. It's, in many ways, it's kind of a lab for a specific type of footballer.
Right. They have a reputation.
They really do.
Yeah.
They're known for producing these elegant, intelligent players. Players who seem to prioritize brains over just raw power, who understand the game on almost a deeper level.
A certain style.
A very specific footballing philosophy, yeah. It's ingrained from a young age. Massive emphasis on technical skill, deep tactical awareness, and this almost unflappable calm under pressure. You see it right through their youth setup. Players taught to look for the smart pass, value possession, solve problems with their heads first. Zubimendi is just the latest, maybe the finest example of that whole process.
And his rise, from everything you read, it wasn't some sort of overnight sensation, was it? Not a meteor hitting the scene.
No, much more steady.
Yeah, it was methodical. A painstaking climb through their system. He cemented his place in the first team just through sheer consistency, that tactical intelligence we mentioned, and this almost unnerving calmness, even when things got chaotic.
You rarely see him flustered.
Exactly. You don't see him scrambling or reacting frantically. You see a player who's constantly thinking, processing, anticipating. In La Liga, which is, famous for its technicality, its tactical battles, he stood out precisely because he wasn't about the flashy stuff.
No highlight reel dribbles necessarily.
Right. No stepovers, no long-range screamers. His impact came from, well, supreme spatial awareness, impeccable timing and tackles, rarely gave away fouls either, and just relentless positional discipline. He makes the really difficult stuff look effortless, mainly because he's already figured out the next 2 or 3 moves.
That's a perfect description. The source material actually uses this great analogy. It says he reads the game like a seasoned chess master, always 1 or 2 moves ahead.
And what does that actually mean on the pitch, in that chaos?
Well, if you really think about it, in that high-speed, unpredictable midfield environment, it signifies an incredible cognitive ability. It's not just seeing the ball or your immediate opponent. It's seeing the spaces between players, understanding what the opponent wants to do before they even do it, anticipating where the next pass is likely going.
And positioning yourself accordingly.
Exactly. To either intercept that pass or maybe even just create space for a teammate. Think about it. A less intelligent player chases the ball. Zubimendi, the chess master, he's thinking 2 passes down the line. He sees the opponent's body shape, the gap that's about to open up, and he's already subtly shifted his weight or taken a half step to either block the lane or maybe make a decoy run.
Wow. It's almost subconscious, but it's trained.
It's deeply cultivated intelligence, absolutely, honed over years of training and, frankly, studying the game. A player like that isn't just reacting, he's actively shaping events, closing down passing lanes before the passer even thinks of them, or opening up lanes for his own team with these tiny, almost invisible movements.
And that, right there, that's the absolute core of why Mikel Arteta has reportedly been so obsessed with him for so long.
It fits the profile perfectly.
Totally. Arteta's clearly been searching for exactly this kind of nuanced, deep-lying intelligence. This isn't just taking a pun on raw talent. It feels like the meticulous endpoint of a long-term strategic hunt for a player who precisely embodies that specific, almost cerebral approach.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What kind of player gets valued not for the highlight reels, but for that subtle, intelligent, foundational impact? And how does that way of playing align so perfectly with a coach's specific, complex philosophy?
It says a lot about Arteta's vision.
It really does.
Yeah.
How he wants Arsenal to evolve. He's not just looking for legs. He's looking for a mind at the heart of his team.
The conductor.
Exactly. Okay, so if we look at this signing through the lens of, what people call the Arsenal project, it becomes really clear this isn't just buying another player. It feels like a proper statement from Arteta.
Yeah, a marker.
A meticulously placed piece in his, well, intricate long-term vision for the club. A deliberate blend of flair, youth, that intelligence we keep talking about, and also steel, determination.
We saw a big piece last summer with Rice, didn't we?
Absolutely. Declan Rice's arrival, that record fee, it magnificently addressed the physical side, the energy, the box-to-box power they needed in midfield. Brilliant signing, no doubt.
Undeniably.
But even with Rice, you kind of felt there was still a specific gap. Almost a surgical need Arteta felt had to be filled. A different kind of midfielder to complete the picture.
And that's exactly where Zubimendi comes in, isn't it? While Rice gives you those lung-busting runs, the physicality, carrying the ball through lines, Arsenal needed someone who could consistently dictate the tempo from deep.
The metronome.
Precisely. Recycle possession efficiently, act as the central brain, everything flows around. The deep-lying orchestrator, Zubimendi is that rare player.
So not just a destroyer.
No, he's not your traditional destroyer like, say, a Casemiro, whose main job is breaking up play. Aggressive tackles, physical dominance, maybe less focused on starting attacks.
And not a number 10 either.
Definitely not. Not a pure offensive creator with minimal defensive work. He's in this really unique space, a sort of hybrid, someone who handles the dirty work, screening the defense, shielding, winning the ball back, but somehow makes it look elegant, effortless almost.
Yeah, it's the elegance that stands out.
He makes the toughest parts of midfield play look fluid and natural.
That's the real beauty of his game, I think. He cleans things up, tidies the midfield, but with this grace and efficiency you don't often see. And the numbers, the stats, they absolutely back this up. That's what's compelling.
The data supports the eye test.
Completely. The source highlights his really impressive La Liga stats in a league where passing is, heavily scrutinized. His passing accuracy regularly tops 90%.
Which is elite for that position.
It's absolutely elite. It basically means he hardly ever gives the ball away in dangerous areas. That's vital for any team wanting to build from the back, control possession, control the rhythm.
Foundational.
And beyond that, he consistently ranks right near the top in La Liga for interceptions, recoveries, winning the ball back quickly and crucially, progressive passes.
Let's just clarify that one for people maybe less familiar.
Good point. Progressive passes aren't just safe sideways passes. They're forward passes that move the ball significantly closer to the opponent's goal. They break lines, disrupt defenses.
Essential for turning defense into attack.
Absolutely. Creating real momentum. So he's not just keeping the ball, he's constantly looking to advance it, but always with precision, always with purpose.
And that point about progressive passes is so important. It shows he's not just safe, he's purposeful,
Yeah.
incisive, always looking to move the team forward, but doing it intelligently, accurately, finding that right moment to speed things up.
And Arteta's interest, it wasn't just a recent thing, was it?
No, not at all. The source notes he's followed Zubimendi's development for years, tracked him meticulously. Arsenal even reportedly tried to sign him last season.
Right, I remember those links.
But back then, Zubimendi, and you have to admire this, showed real loyalty to Real Sociedad. They had Champions League football, and he opted to stay with his boyhood club. It speaks volumes about his character.
It really does. But this time, it seems like, well, the stars just aligned for Arsenal.
Everything fell into place.
Yeah. Consistent Champions League qualification, which is obviously a huge draw. The clear, tangible growth of the project under Arteta, you can see where it's heading. And maybe that Spanish connection with Arteta helped too.
You'd imagine so. All those factors converging to convince Zubimendi this was the right move, the right time for the next step.
It makes you think about Arsenal's transfer strategy, how it seems to have matured. It's not just adding talent anymore, is it? It's adding very specific complementary pieces that fit this bigger, evolving tactical puzzle.
Building a coherent team, not just collecting stars.
Exactly. A really intelligent approach.
Absolutely. And, the evolution of the defense midfielder role itself is fascinating in modern football. You've got different types, haven't you? The pure destroyer, all about defense, tackles, breaking up play, maybe less about progressing the ball.
Right.
Than the classic deep-lying playmaker, dictating tempo, spraying passes, perhaps sometimes less focused on the defensive side. Zubimendi, as that hybrid we talk about, he sits kind of perfectly on that spectrum.
Best of both worlds.
Arguably, yeah. He has the defensive nous, the steel, but also the exceptional technique and passing range to start complex attacks. It really reflects a coaching philosophy that demands incredible versatility and deep intelligence from players in that key central zone.
Arteta wants multifunctional players.
Exactly. Building a system where individual strengths boost the collective understanding. A coach's long-term vision really shows itself in the specific profiles they target, creating this ecosystem of complementary skills.
Okay, let's tackle the big one. The elephant in the room, or maybe the 51 million in a question. The price tag?
Yeah, Cam Gordon.
That is, let's be honest, serious money. No two ways about it. In today's market, where fees can feel, well, a bit wild sometimes, 51 million pounds for a player who isn't maybe a global marketing machine might make some casual fans raise an eyebrow.
It's a significant sum, absolutely. But you have to put it in context, don't you? Today's incredibly inflated market. And maybe compare it to other recent big midfield deals.
Like Rice last summer.
Exactly. Declan Rice, $105 million, an even bigger outlay, obviously. But that deal is already paying huge dividends for Arsenal, isn't it? On the pitch, off the pitch, leadership, consistency.
Yeah, he's been immense.
So while $51 million for Zubimendi is substantial, the potential return on investment for a player of his quality, his specific profile, filling such a critical tactical need, it starts to look far more reasonable, maybe even quite shrewd.
A calculated investment, not a gamble.
I think that's fair, yeah.
And it wasn't exactly a simple negotiation either, was it? Real Sociedad, understandably, they weren't keen to let him go easily.
He was crucial for them, captain material.
Right. He had a release clause, which is common in Spain, but Sociedad were apparently hoping to either negotiate a higher fee or, ideally, convince him to stay just one more season. You can see why. Losing your midfield linchpin is tough.
Absolutely. But Arsenal, as the source says, they were firm. They activated the clause.
Which is a power move.
It really is. Decisive, sometimes seen as aggressive. Activating a release clause basically cuts out the back-and-forth negotiation with the selling club about the fee itself. It's fixed.
Shows real intent.
Unwavering resolve, yeah.
Yeah.
And a clear valuation of the player. It puts the decision squarely onto the player. And in this case, after what sounds like some long, serious discussions with his family, his advisors, weighing it all up, Zubimendi gave the green light, signaled he wanted the move.
And what's really interesting are the factors that, apparently tipped the scales for him. It wasn't just money, though that's always part of it, right?
Right.
But the desire to work under Arteta seems huge. People can see what he's building. The pull of the Premier League, arguably the most intense, most watched league globally, that's a massive draw.
Testing yourself against the best week in, week out.
Exactly. And then just that personal ambition, testing himself at the absolute highest level, domestically and in the Champions League. It goes way beyond just a paycheck. It speaks to ambition, hunger, and a club having a genuinely compelling vision.
Arsenal aren't just buying a player. They're buying into a shared goal.
Well put.
And, from a market perspective, activating a release clause like this, it has pros and cons for the buying club.
Right, what are they?
Well, the big pro is speed and certainty. You skip the drawn-out saga, the potential bidding wars, the whole roller coaster of negotiations, the fees set, terms are clear, player agrees, boom, it's done.
Cuts through the noise.
Exactly. The con. Sometimes you might be perceived as overpaying if the market might have settled lower through negotiation, or maybe being seen as inflexible. But with a player like Zubimendi, his quality, the specific fit, the pressing need, that risk feels pretty minimal.
Makes sense.
And for other clubs watching, Arsenal activating a big clause like this sends a strong message. About their financial muscle, yes, but more importantly, about their ambition. It says they'll pay fair value for the right strategic pieces, not just chase headlines. It signals they mean business.
Changes the perception of Arsenal in the market, maybe?
I think it reinforces that they're serious players now.
Okay, now let's get into the really juicy stuff, the tactical masterclass. How will Martin Zubimendi actually fit in and, more importantly, elevate Arsenal's midfield? Because, let's be clear, this feels like more than just a tweak. It feels like a serious fundamental upgrade.
A foundational shift, potentially.
It could unlock whole new levels. Just picture it for a second, this potential midfield trio. It's what a lot of Arsenal fans have been dreaming of, right?
The ideal balance.
You've got Zubimendi as the deep-lying anchor, that consistent, calm, intelligent presence right at the base, orchestrating. Then ahead of him, Declan Rice, the relentless box-to-box enforcer, the engine, covering every blade of grass.
Non-stop energy.
And then further up, Martin Odegaard, the creative hub, the orchestrator, the guy with the killer pass, the eye for goal. That combination, it's genuinely formidable, isn't it? Designed for defensive solidity and attacking flow.
It really does look like a complete midfield package on paper.
It does.
And Zubimendi will almost certainly slot into that number 6 role. The pivot, right in front of the defense, that position has become incredibly complex in modern football, hasn't it?
Hugely demanding.
Yeah, it's not just about screening anymore. You need vision, pinpoint passing under pressure, the ability to start attacks, almost like a deep-lying quarterback. He really embodies that modern role.
And his presence there, what does that unlock for others?
Well, the direct and probably most significant consequence is it frees up Declan Rice, allows him more freedom to do what he does best without constantly having to shield the back four.
Right, less defensive burden.
Exactly. Instead of being tethered quite so much, Rice can press higher more often, win duels further up the pitch, carry the ball forward, break into the box even more, leverage his athleticism, his power, his improving goal threat.
That could be massive.
It really could be a game changer, especially in those tricky games against deep blocks, teams that are hard to break down. Zubimendi's ability to just take the ball under pressure, keep it, and distribute cleanly and purposefully. That will be vital in systematically unlocking those stubborn defenses.
Like the lubricant in the engine.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Makes the whole attacking machine run smoother.
And crucially, the source mentions something absolutely vital. His durability. His consistency.
Compared to Partey, for example.
Exactly. Unlike Thomas Partey, who, let's face it, despite his huge talent, has had terrible luck with injuries that have really limited his availability, Zubimendi is known for being an absolute Iron Man.
Played nearly everything for Sociedad recently.
Yeah, nearly every game for the last 2 seasons. Incredible resilience, great preparation probably, rarely gets injured. And that kind of reliability, that constant presence in arguably the most vital position on the pitch, that is absolute gold dust for a team chasing multiple trophies over a long, hard season.
You need players you can count on week in, week out, especially there.
Desperately. Someone who sets the tempo consistently.
And that reliability, it breeds stability, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which then fosters confidence throughout the whole team. When your defenders know the guy in front is always there, always performing, always making smart choices.
Takes the pressure off.
Allows them, and the attackers in front, to focus on their jobs with more assurance. Plus, his arrival gives Arteta huge tactical flexibility. And we know Arteta loves that.
He thrives on it.
So in tight games, high-stakes matches, maybe away in Europe, he can deploy a double pivot, Rice and Zubimendi together, an incredibly solid shield in front of the back four, very hard to break down.
Makes them really solid.
Then, against maybe weaker teams, or when chasing a goal, he can go more attacking, trusting Zubimendi to manage those defensive transitions almost single-handedly, sweeping up, breaking up counters, starting quick attacks.
That versatility is key.
Makes Arsenal less predictable, more adaptable, much harder to play against in different scenarios.
It's amazing how one player, the right player, can impact so many different tactical aspects. A deep anchor like him freeing up others. It just unlocks so much, defensively and offensively.
Defensively, you get a cleaner press, a calm outlet, better shape. Offensively, cleaner build-up, new passing lanes open up, creative players get the ball higher up the pitch.
And what about squad depth? Managing fitness over a long season, multiple competitions.
It's a massive bonus. Arteta can rotate more effectively now without a big drop-off in quality or, crucially, tactical balance. Players like Partey, when fit, can still contribute massively, but the pressure isn't solely on him.
Healthy competition.
Exactly. Pushes everyone's level up. And most importantly, you get consistent world-class quality in the position that underpins everything. It builds that reliable spine.
This signing also just feels like it perfectly fits Arteta's whole long-term philosophy, doesn't it? Almost tailor-made.
You can see why he wanted him so badly.
As a former midfielder himself, Arteta just gets the importance of control in the middle, not just possession stats, but really controlling the tempo, the spaces, the flow of the game.
It's fundamental to his approach.
And Arsenal's build-up, sometimes, especially under pressure, it has lacked that calm, hasn't it? Moments where aggressive pressing caused panic, turnovers in bad areas, lost rhythm.
Yeah, they've been vulnerable to that at times.
And this, you feel, is exactly where Zubimendi is the solution, the missing piece for that specific issue.
The anti-panic button.
I like that. He's that player who just doesn't panic. Doesn't matter how intense it gets. He can take the ball from defenders, opponents closing in, turn smoothly, and calmly start the next phase. That composure, it must be infectious, stabilizes the whole team's progression.
It's like he has this internal clock that slows the game down just for him, allows him to assess, spot the pass, execute perfectly, even in milliseconds.
And it's a direct reflection of his football upbringing, right? Arteta knows La Liga inside out, his own playing days, his coaching development shaped by that, Spanish school of thought.
Possession, intelligence, composure.
Exactly. That philosophy, think Guardiola's Barca, Spain's dominant eras, it prioritizes possession for control, deep intelligence in movement and decisions, unwavering composure on the ball, suffocating opponents with passing, smart movement, staying calm.
Absolutely. The Spanish school, it's more than just tactics. It's almost a cultural approach. Permeates player development, emphasizing intelligence, technique, composure under pressure.
And why is that so valuable in the Premier League, with all its pace and power?
Because when everything's frantic, when the physicality is relentless, having players who can mentally slow it down, execute skills under duress, make consistently smart decisions, they provide an invaluable anchor, a steady heartbeat.
And Zubimendi embodies that.
He really does. As the soul says, he's a mirror of those principles. Calm, intelligent, possession-focused. It's not just a player learning a system. In many ways, he is the system.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. Suggests a seamless fit.
An inherent understanding and alignment with Arteta's vision, yeah.
And because of that deep alignment, you'd realistically expect him to slot in pretty quickly during preseason. This isn't a long-term project player needing years to adapt.
Shouldn't be, no. He should immediately start building that chemistry, laying the foundations for what you'd expect to be a more mature, more controlled, ultimately more dominant Arsenal.
So what does more mature Arsenal actually look like on the pitch?
Maybe fewer moments of panic or rushed decisions, more deliberate, controlled buildup, a greater ability to dictate games through sustained, intelligent possession, starving opponents of the ball more effectively.
An evolution, then, from relying maybe on youthful energy and fast transitions to also being able to dominate through methodical control and tactical smarts.
Exactly. And that quick integration is vital, isn't it? With the Champions League looming, high aspirations everywhere, less disruption, quicker understanding, seamless execution from the start. Preseason will be huge for him.
Absolutely critical, laying that groundwork.
For his impact and for the team's collective success.
So this move, the official signing of Martin Zubimendi, it sends a really loud, clear message to the rest of the Premier League, doesn't it?
Undeniably.
Arsenal aren't messing around. They're not here to just make up the numbers or settle for second anymore. They've tasted being close. They've felt that agony of near misses. Now they're making concrete moves to bridge that final gap.
They're coming for it all. And you can absolutely guarantee that the main rivals, City, Liverpool, United, others, they'll be watching this very, very closely, analyzing every angle.
While maybe some of those clubs focus on the big star names, the blockbuster deals that generate headlines.
Marketing buzz.
Yeah. Arsenal, under Arteta, seem to be quietly, meticulously building one of the most balanced, cohesive, tactically smart squads in Europe. It's a different approach, maybe less glamorous outwardly, but incredibly effective in creating a unified, high-performing team.
Smart recruitment over just flashy names. That's the key.
Exactly. And when you add Zubimendi to a roster that already boasts Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Saliba, Gabriel Jesus, wow.
It's getting seriously deep.
Arsenal is morphing from a team of exciting potential into something more tangible. A team built on real belief, genuine championship aspirations. They came so close last season, pushed arguably one of the best club teams ever, City, right to the wire.
Agonizingly close.
That experience, that title race pressure, combined with this injection of control, consistency, composure that Zubimendi brings, it really could be what finally pushes them over the line this time.
The psychological impact is huge, too. On rivals, it signals Arsenal are actively strengthening key areas, raising the bar. For the team itself, it reinforces the club's ambition, fosters even deeper belief that they have the quality, the depth, the tools to compete for everything.
A balanced squad versus one built on stars.
A balanced squad, built on complementary skills and shared understanding, is often more resilient, more adaptable, more capable of sustained success over a long, tough season than one just relying on individual brilliance.
So does this force other teams to react, reassess their own midfield plans?
It has to, doesn't it? It
Yes.
raises the bar, intensifies the competition at the very top. It shifts the narrative. Arsenal aren't just exciting challengers anymore. This signing confirms they are a legitimate, serious title contender. Zubimendi solidifies that status.
Okay, shifting gears just slightly, let's touch on Zubimendi's own perspective as he starts this massive new chapter.
Yeah, important to consider the player's side.
In his first interviews, he apparently expressed real gratitude to Real Sociedad, his boyhood club. That says a lot about his character, doesn't it? Loyalty, grounded nature.
Definitely. Classy touch.
But alongside that appreciation, you could feel this palpable excitement about joining Arsenal, about the challenge ahead.
And he spoke very highly of Arteta, didn't he?
He did. Described him as a manager with a clear vision and deep understanding of the game. That feels like more than just standard transfer talk.
No, it really backs up the idea that Arteta's tactics, his personal connection maybe, his vision for the club, they were absolutely key factors in convincing Zubimendi. When a player praises the coach's vision like that, it suggests a deep alignment.
Which should speed up integration.
You'd think so. Leads to quicker understanding, faster impact on the pitch.
And he also made it crystal clear. He's not coming to sit on the bench. He's here to compete, to push, to win that starting spot.
Exactly the attitude you want.
That competitive spirit is vital for a top club building towards trophies. Keeps training intense, pushes everyone, creates healthy competition. With preseason just starting, the Champions League not far off. His integration is top priority. He needs to hit the ground running.
And that stated desire to compete and integrate quickly. It's massive, especially moving to a new league, new country, new system. That positive attitude impacts chemistry, performance right away.
Sets the tone.
Absolutely. Lifts everyone. Preseason is tough for new signings adapting, building rapport, learning tactics, new culture. But it's also the crucial time to build those connections, that understanding needed for the season ahead. Smooth, quick integration is vital for a team with Arsenal's ambitions.
And you just know the Arsenal faithful. They'll welcome him with open arms, won't they? They recognize the substance, the intelligence he brings. They're hungry for success, and they see a player who brings that control, that quality.
They'll appreciate what he offers, for sure.
So, as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's just reflect on what we've really learned about Martin Zubimendi. He might not be the guy grabbing headlines with 30-yard screamers or viral tricks. That's not him.
Not his game.
But what he does bring to Arsenal is arguably far more valuable in the long run, more enduring, more impactful in that complex world of elite football. He brings control, unwavering consistency, absolute clarity in possession.
Foundational qualities.
He's the kind of player through his smart positioning, his perfect passing, his calm decision-making, who just makes everyone around him better. The silent force multiplier. The conductor you don't always notice, but who makes the whole orchestra sound better.
And for Arsenal, a team that's been knocking so hard on the door, getting so close year after year, Zubimendi could genuinely be that final, fundamental missing piece.
The last ingredient.
Maybe. He provides that layer of composure, strategic control, reliability that turns tight games, pressure moments, into wins. He helps you see out games, win those midfield battles when it counts most.
So this isn't just another transfer signing. It feels bigger than that.
It feels like a statement.
A profound strategic shift in direction for Arsenal Football Club. A deliberate move from those moments of potential chaos, maybe fragility under pressure, towards enduring, methodical control. Dominance, even.
And perhaps it's the move that finally transforms them from being perennial contenders.
Just becoming undeniable champions.
That's the hope, isn't it?
It is. A really powerful thought to leave you all with. Deep divers. What does this shift, this move from chaos to control, truly mean for Arsenal's immediate future? And how might that change ripple outwards, maybe redefining the landscape of European football in the coming seasons? Something to ponder. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.